All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Triple H. Just got to give you that one every week just to make myself giggle. And hey, a little bit of an exciting week. I mean, we think we've got a lot to talk about during the season. Now we're in the postseason. We've got a few weeks to wait. I guess just a little under 3 weeks until we play in the Pinstripe Bowl. If you see things starting to shake, guess what? I'm still dog sitting, and she is once again come over to join me once she heard my voice. And last time, she was like not she pushed a tennis ball under a coffee table, so she's knocking books over, and I was struggling. And here, come on up. Oh, over here, come up. Come here. There you go. There she is again. She's been an absolute blast to hang out with. I should have shown you some of the hiking pics. So she does not like to be ignored. So right now she does not. She's not happy about being second place to you guys. So might have to tolerate an interruption or two. But anyway, like I said, we have suddenly been through about 10 days where if you took a nap or maybe texted with somebody for a few minutes, you were going to miss a hiring, you were going to miss a firing, you were going to miss someone signing, you were going to miss which bowl we were in, etc. So we've really got a lot to go over. It's pretty exciting stuff. I mean, basically all that was going on, I think, last time was we were losing coaches and players in the portal, and and all hell was breaking loose, and everybody couldn't wait to get on social media again and talk about how even though everybody has to trim their rosters to 105, couldn't stop talking about NIL's ruining the game and transferring is bullshit. It's like, well, unless it was your kid or yourself, you'd expect the same rights of any other student who wasn't being paid jack shit by the school. And we'll, I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, this is going to be a wild off season like no other, just because they're going to have to cut so many people, right, Coco? Coco's a huge football fan. The excitement's worn out. She's going to try and knock the camera over and then go back to doing her thing. But anyway, let's jump into it with all the coach stuff. I think, last week we had just lost Tony White, but had just signed Dana Holgerson to a 2-year deal, which took a lot of the sting out of Tony White leaving. And let's face it, before this season, we were all convinced he was leaving anyway, correct? I mean, that, and then we'll start right away. John Butler, after being named interim defensive coordinator for the bowl game, has been given the job. But that was many speculated, let's put it this way, that was the whole reason he was hired in the first place with his resume. Let's give you a little look at John Butler if you haven't seen him on the sidelines. It's a little grainy, but I really like that shirt for some reason. I want to steal that coach's shirt. And for all I know, that's stuff they just painted on him when he was hired, but it's a good shot. And let's see, here's his resume. And you can see going back to, he's been coaching since 1995. And then he was like at a small college. I believe that's where he played his football. He was their defensive coordinator, then became a Texas grad assistant for 2 years. And fun facts there, 1 year under John Makovic and 1 year under Mac Brown. So, not a bad couple of coaches to hop in and learn from right out of the gate. He wheels around and he becomes defensive coordinator at Midwestern State, small school. Ends up at Harvard. There he is at Harvard as a special teams coach and linebackers coach. Special teams coach, you say? Was he any good at that at Harvard? Because Ed Foley's still on staff and people are starting to scratch their heads at that. But anyway, he went to Penn State in 2012 as their special teams and linebackers, or it's not South Carolina, I'm sorry, as their defensive backs coach, and then became the defensive coordinator there in 2013 before taking off to the NFL, where I believe he coached for Bill O'Brien at both Penn State as the defensive coordinator when Bill O'Brien was the head coach. And, he took the job for 4 years after the whole Jerry Sandusky scandal, Paterno scandal. And then, saw how weird people were there and got out of there after 2 years. But anyway, then he went and coached for him with the Texans. And he's basically been secondary coach with the Texans, then the Bills from 2014 to 21 before he got him last year. And I bet there was an understanding there that, Tony was looking for a head job, a head coach job right away after the first season. I think Matt Rule thought he'd find one, and then he goes to Florida State at the end of this season, 10 days ago, because of family. He wanted to go back down there where his family is, he said. And I'm not sure he'd be, I guess I doubt if he had not brought Phil Snow in to look over his shoulder, if he would have felt the pull of family. But it is what it is. It's said and done. We wish him well. You're just not going to hang on to really good assistant coaches anymore for 20-something years like Tom Osborne did. So my feeling is, if there are people looking for him and they hire him away, then they probably left your program and left whatever they were coaching better than they found it. You can absolutely say Tony White left the defense better than he found it. Not that it was horrible. It was actually doing pretty decent under Bill Bush. It was once they got Chen's out of there, and I think now he's on the Boise staff. So yeah, Chen's is going into the playoffs as a third seed, and I'm like, well, where was some of that friggin' genius, that last season at Nebraska, because they were just getting run over through and around, and then Bill Bush came in and they tightened it up for the rest of the year. So anyway, it is what it is. Hey, stop shaking the camera. So anyway, John Butler, let me know what you think about that. Like I said, no one should really be surprised. I think we all kind of felt like that's where it was heading. We also hired Phil Snow, and Phil Snow here's the Phil Snow resume. He's been in coaching for 40-something years, I think. Started off back in '79, and he has been all over the place. He was a defensive coordinator at Arizona State from '95 to 2000. He was a defensive coordinator at Boise before they became, Boise, from '93 to '86. Defensive coordinator at UCLA. Turned to the pros. And then at Washington for a year. Turns to the pros, and then becomes goes back to Eastern Michigan, which I thought was kind of odd in the middle of that, to be a defensive coordinator there. And that's where Matt Rule found him and brought him in to coach the defense at Temple, and then defensive coordinator at Baylor and the Carolina Panthers. I don't know why you're bringing me that ball. I can't play catch right now. I just had the tennis ball thrown to me on the couch. I'll do it once, and there's the crash. But anyway, so Phil Snow, a lot of years there. And I think it's an example, not so much that he wants him looking over John Butler's shoulder, although, I'm sure he'll have an opinion or two. But you're seeing this, and also with the hire of, they brought Philip Simpson. Yeah, Philip Simpson. He was the defensive advisor. Now he's the outside linebackers coach, so they can get him down on the field helping out. He doesn't have a long resume, but I think he's just one of those guys. Played for Rule at Temple. He saw that he was getting started in coaching, and he loves to mentor those guys. So he's probably not doing a lot different things than he did this year, except now he can get on the field and practice and on the sideline and help out. Things are going to be concentrated, and I think going to the 105-man roster, shrinking the roster, and being able to add position coaches, you're going to see much better performance. You're going to see better coached players. You're going to see more attention paid to guys than you saw in the past, just because you're going to have more guys on the field and fewer players. Simple math. That not just Nebraska, but everybody. But you're going to see some of these guys starting to get on the field for other teams. And then they hired Terry Braden, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, as the defensive line coach. And he comes, if I have my notes here, he looks like he's been at Kansas City for 8 years, started off as just an assistant defensive coach, as an analyst. And then the last 4 years, he's been an assistant defensive line coach. So this one we'll see. And, obviously, you're vetting these guys. He must be getting a good recommendation from somebody. But I might have questions about giving a guy his first position job, as a position coach in Power 5 in one of the top two conferences. I almost feel like, go a little smaller with that first job and work your way up. But I don't think it always ends up going that great. So hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm 100% wrong, and this guy coaches the hell out of him. But I can't help but think we might be taking a step down from Terrence Knighton here. And then who else did we get? I think we'd hired, or maybe it wasn't final, but we'd hired Dykeel Shorts as the new wide receiver coach. And I think when we left it last week, Garrett McGuire was going to, probably stay on as an analyst, or an inside receivers coach or something like that. But he was clearly, being knocked down because that was Dana Holgerson was not happy at all with the wide receivers. And I think Garrett McGuire bumping down was that was a consequence of what he saw, receivers not getting open, not blocking the edge, et cetera, et cetera. Now, no one doubt. I'll say this about Garrett McGuire. A lot of people have mad respect for his college or for his football knowledge. He's only 25 years old. You're going to hear from him again. I am sure it just might have been too much, a little too soon. But anyway, he's left and taken a job on his dad's staff at Texas Tech. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I didn't dig that deep, but he's not there. I have a feeling that's not going to end up being, anything that breaks the relationship with the McGuires, because Joey McGuire, the head coach down there, was mentored by Matt Rule. So he might have jumped in and said, I can get him a bigger role, and best of luck to him. So that was it on the coaching hires. So I want to dive in right now, see what we got in the comments. First thing first, speaking of first, Fred's in there first, and Justin Rogie taking it well. Damn you, Fred. And Fred, of course, in his own calm, laid back, non-combative way. Blah, ha, ha, ha. Yes, I live for this, and steak and wine and beer and pizza. So Fred, man of many desires. Let's see. Vince Watson asked, and that's fine. That's better than I put it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are y'all with the DC hire? For me, it's for addition of Snow 7. I don't know what Snow 7 means. Fred says, bit surprised Rule went with Butler right away. I figured he'd be the Satterfield, aka the next best option, if a favorite of Rule didn't want the gig. Snow, he's now an extra set of eyes and ears for Rule. And maybe Snow just doesn't want to jump in, and he wants just kind of a bigger picture type of deal. But Fred's a bit surprised I'm not. I thought that he was absolutely the defensive coordinator in waiting when they hired him, just because he had history with it, and I think just wanted to get maybe get back to college to start. And he could absolutely be a guy that wants to come in, put his mark on it for 2 or 3 years, and then see if he can parlay that into the NFL. Only he knows what he wants, but a lot to guess with there. The dog you're sitting sounds like Diaco after Eichhorst ran out of kibble to feed him. Yeah, no, she was absolutely just fine to hang out in the kennel. She doesn't like to play second fiddle to anybody. So when it sounds like I'm talking to somebody, then she's jumping out and she's jumping in my lap and letting her know, no, I am your first and only concern here, buddy. So you better know that. Oh God. Okay. You guys can read that. I'll give you 3 seconds and then badoomks, and we're out. This feels like Rule got turned down by his first choice, so went to Butler and brought in Snow to babysit. That's a possibility too. I won't deny that. For me, I think he was his first choice, and I think he wanted to see him just run a few practices as a defensive coordinator and make sure that there wasn't something weird there he hadn't seen before. But very well could have been turned down. But like I said, even if he was turned down by his first choice, I still feel that he was at least the safety valve when he brought him in the first place. Stop it. Oh, great. She caught it. So let's see what else we got here. Phil Snow's been coaching since Andy was a gleam in his dad's eye. Fred, that's really nice of you to say. Let me take another look. That was Fred. I was entering my sophomore year in high school in 1979. So no, not a gleam in anyone's eye, unfortunately. But yeah, that is probably the nicest thing anybody has said to or is going to say to me the rest of the night. So you can't take it back. Let's see. Yeah, and we'll talk about this when the profit sharing comes. I see contracts not far behind to slow down the portal. Here's the thing about the portal. It's never going to be like this again because they're never going to have to cut this many again. And even with the flood going to it, people are they just want to yell so much. Oh, they're babies that want to go somewhere they can play or make more money and all this. This year, it's mostly going to be guys being shown the door by the coaches, and it's still a lot of that in the other years. I wouldn't say half, but I'd say a goodly chunk of the actual portal is guys being sat down and told there's no more room for you here. It's not working out. So yeah, it's not a shit show again. This is going to be the shit show like no other. Like it was what Matt Rule had said, which didn't surprise me at all at the signing day press conference. Are these guys? He said before he even started having the meetings with them, he said, "Here came some of the walk-ons. These guys that know they're absolutely not in the plans anymore." I when I was doing the numbers in my head, out of that 105-man roster, I figure there's going to be at least 35 that weren't here last year between the 20 signees and 15 transfers coming in. Now they're not assholes and traitors, are they? They're coming to Nebraska, so they rock. And boy, did they ever make the right choice. Sorry, hashtag what do we say? Hashtag sarcasm. But no, this is a shit show like no other, and never will be again, because unless they decide they need to drop the rosters even more. So I don't know. I don't see that happening. I think you're going to see them fighting back if they try to knock it down. But anyway, and if contracts become a thing, can players be traded? Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do that, because you can't force a kid to go to another school since they are, technically taking classes. So I don't see that happening. What I'm wondering if we might see is when you sign, I mean, they're going to call it revenue sharing. It's going to end up being like a contract, but maybe they go, hey, here's a 2-year contract, and I don't know if they're going to pay the same to everybody and then let them make, whatever they want in the NIL for their bigger money. And also I heard that the players were coming in now wanting to be able to do collective bargaining with the schools, the NCAA or whatever. And that's fine by me too. I mean, because some things are toughening up for the players with this. You're seeing a lot of them just aren't going to play football anymore, or they're going to do it at a much lower level as all these guys drop down. Like that's what I was saying with the players with Rule. They were coming to him and going, we know we're not in the plans. Do you know any schools that are looking for somebody? Is there anything can you do anything to help us? The GM had parents and kids calling in, hey, can you put together tapes for me that I can send to other schools? Because a lot of these guys know they're headed for FCS or Division II or whatever. But anyway, yeah, that's the next thing I'm waiting on is the details of how that's going to work. And I wouldn't be surprised if that gets put off a little, because that's going to be haggled over way harder than the roster. Many asks me if I'm going to New York. My request for press credentials has been put in. I'm going to go ahead and either tonight or tomorrow get a flight and a hotel room scheduled. So the plan is to go. If I don't get that, if I don't get the press box, I'm probably not going to go. And where's Aaron Kane? Aaron Kane goes, Andy, we know you're in the press box. We get it. So, but it's really weird to think this all started with me covering the women's softball, which I'm still going to do. That sport just became fun to watch. It's fast. There's a lot more hitting than there was back when the mound was closer, and girls like Debbie Doom at UCLA had 0.17 ERAs, and you were lucky if there was a 3-1 game. But now there's a lot more hitting. And like Jordy Ball's the dominant pitcher in college softball. She's healthy this year and sounds like she's ready to go. But even she doesn't just go out and start rolling out one shutout after the other. Her ERA was around 1, but there's a big difference between, and that was the lowest in the country. But yeah, one wouldn't have gotten you real far back in the 80s. But anyway, plans to go to New York, and we'll see what happens. Just waiting to hear back, and hope so. It's just really, I can't finish a sentence. There's too much to talk about tonight. But I was going to say that it's so funny how this started with me a couple of years ago, going to cover the Big Ten softball tournament, and then covering softball last year, going to those games, taking an occasional road trip. And this year's, started with me covering the Huskers at their home games, and now possibly ending up in the Yankee Stadium press box. Now I'm a Braves fan, and all my friends know that, but little bit of history in that park. That would be exciting. I hope it happens, and I'm looking forward to it. Fred Sacco, we may see better coach players, but if players keep leaving, then it's kind of like you're starting all over again with players learning the system. Yeah, but you know who else just leaves all the time are coaches. I mean, we can't really say that, oh, it's tough on the coaches because now players are leaving every year. It's like, what are these guys on? Like their fourth defensive coordinator in 5 years now. Yeah, the players have been having to do it with the coaches forever. So I'm not gonna cry a river that the coaches have to do it. The good coaches will adapt. That's all I got to say. And Matt Rule is a guy that doesn't go around crying about the portal, crying about NIL. The thing he feels worst about is the thing is that he should feel worst about. Not that it's his fault, just feel bad to do it. Is telling, like, geez, what's going to end up being like, 50, 60 guys that you got to go. And like I said, most of them probably have a good idea. Some others leaving on their own probably may have made that a little easier. Well, time will tell, but people need to stop the screaming and yelling online and just look at, there is never going to be another off season like this one. Then next year we can go back to that, that coaches can make 10 million and all that, and players leaving or wanting money are the worst people on earth. And my God, where's your gratitude? And there we go. Beetlebee, the money is killing college sports. I hate to break it to you. The money's been there, and it didn't just start with NIL. It just means it's on the table now. Boosters have been paying those players going back to at least the 20s. Like Dan Jenkins told the story of George Gipp, in this hospital bed, win one for the Gipper boys. And like most Notre Dame stories, Rudy, it's total bullshit. They found him, like, he was a fantastic athlete and also just a legendary pool hall gambler. And they found him in there and found a way to pay him enough money and never saw a classroom. And they said, when he did die, he sure as hell wouldn't have been telling the guys about in 114. He would have been asking Newt Rockne if the wires, the news wires had picked up on the fact that he was mortally ill yet. Because if not, he'd like to get a bet down on the opposition probably. But now the money's always been there. Money's been there, and just the fact now that it's kind of public, even though what they're getting isn't public, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean they weren't getting it before. What's happening now is more players are probably getting it, because I remember one of the things with SMU, remember the Pony Excess 30 for 30, one of the best ones, was the idiocy they did was they didn't just pay their best players, they just went batshit and were paying the entire roster. And so there's a lie about NCAA investigators. You know what NCAA investigators do? They sit in their office and wait for somebody to rat out the school. And then they go down and interview the guy who ratted him out, and hopefully he's got some evidence. And they showed that in the Pony Excess 30 for 30. And the funny thing was the investigator was that jackass Big 12 president we had that just screwed us, 5 ways to Sunday in our last year or two in that conference. And he was sitting there acting like he did all this, and you saw what happened. It's like basically this third string lineman with a raging cocaine habit, wanted to start, was pissed he wasn't starting and doing a ton of drugs. So he's unhinged and he left school. And before he did, I think the AD, the athletic director at SMU, had actually given him the money in like an SMU envelope wrapped in his personal stationery. So he just called up Beebe or Don Beebe or whatever his name, Dan Beebe, picked up the phone, went down there, saw that, and was like, I got him. It's like, you didn't do shit. It's like, it was like when Oklahoma State got caught, it was because Hartley Dykes left school, pissed they weren't giving him more money when he asked for it. And that's the thing you got into with these boosters is you had to be you couldn't overpay too many people, and because you didn't want to get ratted out like SMU did. But if you got an angry second stringer, maybe he's going to keep the money he's made, and then rat you out on his way out the door. They could have done that so much more. Just, hey, I'm draft eligible, and I didn't like the way they treated me. Fuck these guys, and I'm gonna rat them out on all the shit and all the money they gave to me. And if anything, I don't know if the booster's still throwing a little on the side. It's probably not as much. If anything, be happy it's out there. I think the thing that pisses everybody off is the transfer portal. Just opening up completely. And well, here's the thing about that. This is one thing they can I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to my NIL transfer portal thoughts because I'm already there. But here's where I think where it was going is, how in the hell did they let them limit to where they could go, need the coach's permission to transfer? Oh, and by the way, here's a list of schools you're not allowed to transfer to, because they weren't paying them dick. That, like, the schools were still not paying the players a dime. So why should they not have the same rights as a student on scholarship as any other student who can up and leave school whenever they feel like it? So until they pay them, and that's the thing, when they start doing the revenue sharing, and here's more money on the table, then maybe it can be written in there, we'll pay you this much if you agree that you're not leaving for this many years. And unlike the coaches, they hold them to it, or there's a case where maybe they do need their permission to leave. And it might work the other way, but then you can't, if I suck, you can't cut me for 3 years and I still get the money. See, it would actually, it's not ruining the game. It's probably cleaning up the game a little, to be honest, because players not being paid was one of the dirtiest things about the game. Just to give you an idea, here's what Nebraska's revenue, just the football team's revenues were for the last time they released them, with the fiscal year, middle of the year, 2022, like July 1 to June 30, 23. They raked in $204 million, $831, or $204,831,356. And that was up from $143 million they raked in from 21 to 22. And the fact that some people think that the players shouldn't get any of that and should just be happy with a scholarship, to me, is just some of the most mind-boggling bullshit of all time. This is how much money this brings in, but you don't want the players who people are actually going to see making any of it. How? Because everybody goes, it's not a professional sport. And I'm like, well, that $204 million tells me it's a hell of a professional sport, because you're absolutely charging people. Because I held for a long time, I am fine with not paying the players anything other than that scholarship. However, the coaches can only have a max of whatever the max professor's salary is at that school, and they have to teach a class, and no TV deals. If you want to put it on TV, you can't pay the school. It goes on public or whatever, because, this is not a professional sport, and tickets are like $5, something like whatever, little above what high school, maybe, $20, but a little above what high school charges. But no, you're charging like all, however many, several $100s a year, plus your required donation, and God knows, the TV rights is just where the massive money is. It's a professional sport. We just haven't been paying the pro athletes anything but, the 20,000, 25,000 that a scholarship and room and board adds up to. And I think that's what it does today at Nebraska. So no, they absolutely deserve to get paid. And yeah, for coaches like Nick Saban, which to me, the biggest hypocrisy, and I liked him as a coach. I'll be honest, like, have to dislike Alabama with, Georgia being the family team and all. But, well, I guess part one family team, because my son went to Lincoln. But no, it's like, I'm good with it. I am good with it all. Pay these damn guys. It's fine. It's clean. I think it makes it a cleaner game in the end. It's not a dirty game, because a guy, I mean, let's say, somebody's making 1.5 million. That would be a really high end guy, right? In the scheme of things, that's pretty freaking cheap. If you got 204 million in revenue and your best player, is making 1.5, but it was like Nick Saban, who was making like 11 or 12 million a year, whatever he was making, as he left with that salary he's pulling down. He huffs and sticks his nose in the air. I can't just take these players asking for more money. It's like, well, I guess technically you have a fucking agent to do it, Nick Saban. So I agree with you. If you think it's okay for you to make 8 figures and your players, that, obviously this sport brings in the kind of money to pay him 8 figures a year, but you don't want your players making dick, then you need to go. And Dabo Swinney, I don't know what's keeping him around, because he never stops bitching about the portal and NIL and all that. He wants to run their lives. See it. He wants to keep them, because here's basically what it was: keep them poor. And you're keeping the whole team poor, except for your best players who are being paid money under the table in those scenarios. And then you could only leave leave this school if I say so, unless you just want to quit, and I get to tell you where you can and can't go. Fuck that and fuck you, Dabo. So that's my opinion on it. It's been my opinion for a while. I just always thought, like, why are you so mad about players getting paid? I mean, I kind of know why, but I don't want to really piss people off, so I'll just stop there. Anyway, let's go down the comments for more. Those are my thoughts on NIL and the transfer portal. And it's like, deep breath. It's going to be fine. They're going to work it out. Obviously, they had a plan ready to go. I don't think if you're a head coach and an AD, you've got the list of guys ready to go. Even if you think everybody's completely happy, you constantly have an active list of people to call to fill positions. We'll see how they did. I'm sure they know, as opinionated as I can be, I'm sure they might be a little more knowledgeable. And many asked me if I'm going to New York. No, Andy's watching the game at Tiger Tom's with me. Yeah, if New York does fall through for whatever reason, then that's absolutely where I'll be. So he's probably wrong. It's not going to be the intention, but that could be the backup plan. There we go. Andy getting mugged Ketterson if he's going bowling. Yeah, that's one thing. And I know this. There's certain news outlets that probably have a lot of Nebraskans convinced that they'll be lucky to escape New York City with their lives. From what I've heard, I've got a couple friends that just go there all the time, so they love it. And I don't even know if I'm going to have that much time to do anything. I'm not planning on spending a week there, and for their hotel prices, I'm definitely not. So let's see what else we got. He's defending me. Andy looks wiry. I think I've seen him. But he's wiry. I've seen him in person. Oh yeah, that's about it. I'm wiry. What was that? The replacements. He was trying to teach. The kicker was trying to teach him how to say he's wiry. Who was it? Gene Hackman. So that was funny. Let's see. So many said, let's see. Let's go back up because I'm sure there's going to be some comments that don't jive with my thoughts on the on portal and NIL. But anyway, Minnie says, I'm so excited about your new D-line coach. That guy is awesome. Awesome. Let's see. Vince rating. Okay, here we go. On the 1 to 10, he says a 5 for Butler and an 8 for Snow is an analyst helper role. I'm going to go a 7 on Butler just because he has experience as a defensive coordinator. So it's not like we're getting some guy that just coached secondary for a lot of years and this is his shot. He did it at Penn State, under O'Brien. I'm not too worried there. Let's see. Who's TW? Butler was brought in to be the dude. TW's words. TW. Say TW, except I won't getting it. Let's see. Hate to lose Knighton per all rules NFL name dropping for him, but the Chiefs dude should be an able replacement. That's kind of where I'm going for there. Even though, he's been coaching defensive line on a damn good. That's become a damn good defensive line, and like I said, I'm guessing he was vetted, and they're like, this guy doesn't need to warm up at a lower level. He's full ready to go. Oh, Minnie, you thing. Are you dog sitting for a lady friend? Minnie, I am dog sitting for a girl space friend. It is a female friend. She is not a lady friend in quotations. Otherwise, she wouldn't be engaged to somebody else. So, friend, Andy's got many lady friends. He's a man of many tastes, as he said. Oh, God. Let's see what else we got here. Good as it's going to get, Andy. I throw compliments around like manhole covers. That's why I'm so grateful, Fred. Thank you very much. Let's see. Oh, Tony White. Duh. Okay, Tony White said he's the man. Hard to gauge. Tony White did all right at Syracuse, whereas Butler hasn't been a DC since. Well, I think he was a DC again. Let me check real quick. I thought he DC'd again, but then he went to NFL secondary coaching, which, I'm not unimpressed with that. Let's see. So, yeah, or maybe that was him. Yeah, DC. Okay, DC 2013, but the NFL since then. So not so bad. Anyway, back where we were here. Let's see. Oh yeah, Beetleby was talking about pit bulls. I love pit bulls too because pit bulls raised well are like the sweetest, funniest. They've got personality, and they do. It's not like there are mean ones around, but that's not the pit bull's fault. Doggos are generally goodest boys or goodest girls. Let's see. Okay, so you're just going to try and sit right under that keyboard. Honey, you're going to have to deal with this for a little while. I'm sorry. I know it's a rough thing. Let's see. So anyway, says he'll ping Aaron to set me straight. Then he said it better than I could. Good Lord. Let's see. Okay, here you go. Yeah, and the money isn't killing it so much as the portal transfer 2 times a season. Atrocious. Makes it difficult to keep up the enthusiasm and care about and learn about the guys on the team. Here's the thing: Nebraska, before they cut the roster this year, that after Rule's first season, I don't think hardly anybody left the portal that wasn't told to leave, that they were going out the portal. Because one thing he did that not near every school did was, I think they paid NIL with just a flat 30,000 to like the 120 guys on the roster. So he had pretty much 35 walk-ons, getting their school paid for with, 5-10 grand and walking around money on the side, probably closer to $5,000 now. But yeah, it does make it tough. But here's the thing: it's like, I would rather live in a world where, as the coach, you are showing you care about them. And I mean, you got to get on their ass sometimes, but I'd rather have a coach who is working to let them know they belong, make them feel welcome, try to set them up for success academically through support systems there. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Find time for a swig. Hold on. Everyone else drink as well. But I'd rather have them working at that than just basically you're stuck with this guy and he holds your life in his hands and you're going to school without a dime in your pocket. And I mean, a lot of people, I went to school without a dime in my pocket. And I think some people see that, well, why shouldn't they go to school with some money in their pocket? This is bullshit. I didn't do that when I went to school. It's like it's like, maybe some people are going to take this the wrong way. And if you are, then you probably need to hear it the most. No one's filling a fucking stadium to watch you play football. If that's your attitude, no one was going to watch me play football. I was never jealous of these guys. I guess, there's times, hey, I wish I was a little bigger, a little faster, and could have been out there with them. But I never really, I wasn't one of those guys that went around deluding myself that I got a bad break or something, or these guys should be poor at school because I was poor at school. Big deal. It's like, no, it's these guys have earned the right for a little more. This game is worth a ton of money. I'm fine with them having a chunk of it. And like I said, get the revenue sharing going. And I think that might take care of just the unlimited transferring. It might hammer them down for a stretch. But until they're getting money from the university, if they're just on scholarship, like I said, then they can leave whenever they feel like it. And if the coaches don't like it, then get in there and push for them to get paid by the university and take care of it. Because otherwise, you just want to strip them of basic rights everybody else had for no other reason than it's fucking with your football team. I love my football, but I don't believe it. When they were telling them, no, you can't have jobs because the best players might get bullshit jobs. It's like, I never cared about that. I'm like, if some guy that owns a business wants to give a guy a bullshit job, let him. At least with NIL, apparently they do check in on that. And I think it was last year they said they did have to boot a couple of Huskers, or not boot them off the team, but take away their NIL money because they weren't doing whatever minimum thing they were supposed to be doing. And they were like, no, we check in on you and turn that into the NCAA. So anyway, let's see. College football made the NFL look like a joke until the mid-'70s. Money has always driven the sport. Yeah, I mean, even Art Donovan, I think in his book, was talking about when he went to Boston College, I think in the 40s after the war, because he served in the war for a bit before he I think he started at college, served in like the Marines, something or other in the Pacific, and then came back and went to BC and said they were sliding an envelope under his door, some cash in it. Why did they make it so you can transfer twice in one season? What is that? 8 times throughout your college career? So much for getting an education. Well, but remember, you can't do it like in the middle of the season. So, and there were guys, who was one of them, Luke McCaffrey, who I think transferred from Nebraska to Louisville, and then found out, hey, they aren't gonna sit their 3-year starter for him. So then he went to Rice, and then ended up as a third string quarterback. But he had literally been enrolled in like 3 schools in like a few months. But that's the thing; it's still between seasons, so maybe they can jump from I think it's spring and fall basically, so you can be at one team in the spring and then go to another team in the fall. That's fine, because you know what? I guess if you're good enough, somebody will pick you up, but coaches are going to look at that and go, well, let's see how good he is and get a feel for how dedicated he is. And then maybe we'll just take a chance on him and but play it out. Like we're going to assume he might just turn around and leave again in a year. It's another twist on coaching. Anyway, let's see. So much for getting an education. Well, let's face it. If guys are jumping around like that, then they're, let's face it, education's not their focus. If they get out of there with a degree, good for them. If you ever read The 100-Yard Lie by Rick Telander, and he wrote that back in the early 80s, I believe, or was it late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around 1990. And he had a wonderful system that I think we're getting closer and closer to. But his thing was to take whatever, like the top 50, like 40 to 60 schools who want to be big time players, and you just make them the developmental league. Part of it was making the NFL pay in too, since it's basically developed for them. They've been getting off, them in the NBA have been getting off free for a long time. At least the NBA started some minor leagues. So, but you do that, and then while you're playing, that you're still attached to a school. You keep the logos. They're all going to be paid something like a flat $75,000. Like I said, that was 1990. But they get paid a flat fee, and you can't go to school while you're doing it. But for every season you play, you get 1 free year of education at that school to be redeemed anytime in the future. No expiration date. And so, you play your 4 years there, you get 4 years. Let's say, you get the 5th year, the redshirt year, you get the 5 years of education. And let's face it, it takes a lot of people 5 years to graduate. And then everybody else plays college football, where you can only practice 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. The coach has to teach a class that, not on TV, cheap tickets, all that. And so for those that really do love the amateurism of the game, there's your amateur level. You're allowed to go back and forth between those if you want. And why shouldn't you? Let's say this guy plays 2 years of the pro league football and he decides, or the development league, I don't want to do it. And then he drops down to play for fun. And then, and then there's no athletic scholarships at those levels either. So anyway, just an idea, of how it could work. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This is interesting. Still pretty sad that SMU got the alleged death penalty, 40 years ago, and they're in the playoff. We're in the Gotham Bowl. Oh, yeah. And we actually have been in the Gotham Bowl in 1962. But here's the thing is that I heard about the death penalty is it's never going to be given out again for any reason. It's just they're not taking it off the books, but it's just been agreed. No one else is getting it. 2 reasons. One, they didn't know they were ruining SMU for decades. They thought it'd be the kind of thing that maybe follow them for 5-10 years, and they deserved that. Maybe no. That was number one. And number two, the next team that was going to get the death penalty, name the coach who left every school he ever coached at on probation except William and Mary. That's right, Coach Lou Holtz's Notre Dame. They were about to get slapped with the loss of institutional control because they had some boosters running wild. I think that the worst example was one. She was like let's just say what it was, a rich cougar, and she was basically sleeping with the All-American tight end, had his place all paid for. It was giving him a ton of money. I mean, he was, what would they call it? in that Rob Schneider movie, "You a man whore," and he was the Notre Dame tight end was a man whore. But yeah, it was just going absolutely crazy there, and then just kind of got told we can't do that to Notre Dame. Nah, no, nope, no. If it might have kept going if it was just somebody like Rice, or I don't know, I'm picking on Rice, but it wouldn't be Vanderbilt, but if it's somebody like that, we might have seen a few more of those. They might have thought about it, but the fact that the next time it was coming up was Notre Dame, and enough people kind of knew it, and that was the reason they weren't doing it, which is also you'll never see it done again, because then there might be some people with a little bit of dirt that would go, hey, but you didn't do it to Notre Dame back in '88. So anyway, yeah, the the death penalty. Free will, a normal student can change schools. Transfers are still the exception. Saw a college, was that baseball, basketball game at a bar. Indiana had a center who'd played for 3 teams already. Only 3? Shit, man. We had, what's his name? Teddy. Oh, God, what Teddy? He almost got Pike House. He played for Nebraska for 1 year, but I think he might still be out there on like his 5th team. And so we can't be holier than thou there, because I think we were his 3rd team. He'd been, was he at West Virginia with Bob, what's his name, the old Cincinnati coach. But he showed up like a couple of years after he played for Nebraska in the NCAA tournament, I think, with New Mexico State, and they were his 4th team, and then he'd gone on from there. Teddy. That guy's a Piker. 3 teams. Let's see. I like Kenny. Those kids owe no loyalty to anyone other than their own mothers. Yeah, if you want loyal players, be a coach that makes loyalty something you strive for, that makes that you create the kind of culture that loyalty is a big part of that, and you'll see less guys go, and some will still, maybe you'll get guys like, these guys will pay me that much, but still, like I said, the thing I've heard about NIL is most of these guys have a pretty good idea what their value is, and the schools really don't change that much. I just heard there's not bidding wars like you think. It's just these guys match the amount, and then the players choose. And that's why I said the players in the last poll I saw had NIL as like their number 3 behind the right coach and the university they felt the most comfortable at. And even the coaches say, they said it's, I mean, it's not like it never happens. They get guys that ask, but when they get a guy that asks, they're just kind of like, I want $750,000 a year. Well, we see it's 500. So, we would, if you change your mind, where we are, best of luck, but that's as high as we're going. And that's so they're not usually getting that. And if they are, then maybe everybody else undervalued and somebody knows it, but you can always ask for more money. That's one thing. It's kind of like when people get mad at free agents. Free agents are ruining the game. Remember, free agents are going to ruin all the games too. And all the games are richer than ever. But yeah, free agents, how dare they, they're causing our seat prices to rise. It's like, no, they're not. They're asking for the money. The ones who gave it to them are the owners, and the owners are going to charge you as much for those seats as they possibly can. That their economic model shows, here's the most we can charge for these seats that will fill the stadium still. So, I always love the chicken shit owners that pay these guys what they want and then go, well, we have to bump the seat prices because of that, what I just paid that guy. Well, I'm sorry, but that's still not on him. He asked for it. You gave it to him, and he's not the reason. You're the reason, because you paid him. I guess if you actually did that, which most of the time also bullshit, then you paid him more than you could afford, and that's on you. You own the team. So to that, maybe putting a cap on the number of transfers than a college career would be good for college football, say like 3 max. Here, as soon as they pay them, then maybe you can make a rule like that. If you're participating in the revenue sharing, then we have limits on transfers. I don't know if I feel like the players would have to agree to that. Like I said, now we're getting way ahead of it. But again, because without revenue sharing, no, you can't cap anything because you're not paying them anything. But once they do that, that's why I say this will clean it up. I said when the transfer portal started and people were screaming, I said, this is going to be the Wild West for a few years, but it's going to work itself out, because they're going to realize that's not a great thing. They're going to figure out a way to get it under control. And guess what? That way is paying the players. And then once you start paying them something besides the scholarship, then you can start dictating some terms, right? Okay. What's happening now isn't good for the sport. I disagree. It's great for the sport because I think it's going to be good for it in the end. It's nuts now, but talk about a time where you need coaches, like I said, who preach loyalty and show it by giving it to you. That they give loyalty to get loyalty, and the ones who can build that kind of culture in these wild times are going to be the ones who are going to come out ahead by doing the right thing. Yeah, that's kind of what I said. It's like right now they can't do it, but down the road, possibly. Huskers lost 10% of the roster, 90% are still there. Yeah, except they got to get to 105. I did the math last week. It's like they're at 151. They're losing 30 seniors, so they need to get to 105. So now they're down to 121, but they're bringing in 20 freshmen. So now they're back up to 141. And then let's say 15 transfers, which I say might end up being kind of on the low end, but that took it to, let's see, 121, 141, 156. You got to get rid of 51 players currently on the roster who are there right now. And so subtract that from 105, and you're going to have like maybe you're not going to have 90% there. You're going to have, let's see. 105 minus 51? So you're going to have 64 of 105. So between 60 and 65% are going to be the ones who are on the roster the year before. And that's coach driven too, because they're bringing in the 20 new players and they're going after that many transfers. And because his job now, I mean, I get it, and we don't have that walk-on that can come make a team. But I'm telling you, I still feel like it was walk-ons in the 85 to 105 range that were the ones that were going to get the scholarships, not those guys down there like number one, ranked 140 of the 151 guys on the roster. That's the thing is I just can't see trades going, because then you're forcing a kid to go to a school. Yeah, they're not going to be commodities like they are in the NFL. That they won't be able to trade them. Let's see. I think I think the contract might have to be between universities and NCAA or whatever organization replaces it. School A pays School B if caught tampering or players transfer. Yeah, that'd probably be a fine. But yeah, the contract's going to be between the universities and the players, I believe, because they're being given, I think, what was it, $22 million for all athletes, all sports. And they said, I can't remember who said it, but said it looks like 70% of that's going to football, about 15% or 75 maybe, about 15 to basketball, and then the rest spread out to all the other sports. Because let's face it, most of these sports that don't generate any money are not going to be revenue sharing with players. We'll see. But again, that's a new world. You've been making money off the backs of these kids forever. I'm not going to cry, because you have to figure out how to spread the money around. That's your job. It should have been your job decades ago. That's kind of where I think they're going to go. If the school makes a certain amount, then do the math and pay athletes proportionate versus what each team brings in. Then put NIL in for whoever gets it. Most schools lose money, but you know what? If they were losing money and they were carrying 130 players, which I think is what most teams were doing around 130, then there's 25 more football players you don't have to pay for. That you have to expense out. I know that won't make up the difference, but if you're not successful, you're losing money. But guess what? That's been the case anyway. I know one thing, not to start a bunch of cursing at Trev. Trev's gone. But I guess one of the first things he did at Texas A&M was got in that athletic department and saw how many buddies, were just in there with their thumb up their ass pulling down a paycheck because they knew a booster or something, and cut a lot of those fuckers loose. and I don't think it was. I think he did a little of that at Nebraska, but it just wasn't out of control. I could see go to Texas. See old Jimmy Ray, who just walks around shaking hands all day long. Anyway, Let's see. Let's skip along down here. I didn't mean that one. New York can't be worse than South County, St. Louis, or down. From what I hear, New York's not that bad. I mean, it's like one of the most heavily touristed cities in the U.S. And if tourists are just, if you're, the way they're describing on certain media outlets, that New York, Chicago are just full of mayhem and violence, then people wouldn't be spending that much money to travel there. And I mean, the flights that I'm looking at are like $700 something, and that's if I save a little cash by driving down to Kansas City, to take the flight there. But yeah, I mean, Chicago. I love Chicago. The Chicago. I haven't been to New York since I was like probably 5-6 years old in New York City. But in Atlanta, I love Atlanta. I need to get back there. But no, I think a lot of us that are older, it's like not only do you have everybody telling you that this is just the house of crime and murder, these big cities are the house of crime and murder, being overrun by tourists, be damned. I think a lot of us remember that big cities in the movies, like in the 70s and the 80s, were just these, they were dank, filthy places where it was the cops versus the criminals and all this. And if you notice now, I think most of them have kind of stepped in a little bit. Hey, if you want to film here, you're not gonna make this just look like a place where trash trucks never run and bullets are constantly flying, in restaurant neighborhoods and that type of thing. Let's see. But anyway, yeah, thoughts on big cities. Why not? We'll see if I go there. Let's see. Except for the schools, you say that don't. They were talking about the schools that lose money, like Dartmouth basketball team wants money. They have no attendance. I think they're just they're stepping in for that lawsuit, so they can get paid. Then it's up to the schools. They're like, because they can give the schools these limits. These schools don't have to pay them. Now, you're going to get worse, but it's not going to be you're forced to. It looks like they're saying the 105 limit. They say you can go up to 105 scholarships. You don't have to. So, on the other hand, though, if you're competing, you want 105 guys on scholarship with everything being paid for. That's why SEC and Big Ten need to say fuck the NCAA. It's the small schools that pushed all this shit. Well, I'll tell you what. A lot of this that's going on, I think the big schools, it kind of makes their lives a little easier. Then they don't have to, because even in the booster days, the boosters weren't just guessing which players. If you had a smart coach, like Lou Holtz wasn't a smart coach. He always stuck his nose in shit, and then therefore always was named as one of the reasons they were sanctioning the schools. Yeah, his career went William and Mary, I believe, and then NC State left him on probation. To Arkansas, left him on probation. To Minnesota, left him on probation. To Notre Dame, left him on probation, almost got him the death penalty. To finishing at South Carolina, retires, left him on probation. He was just an amazing piece of shit. But yeah, I think, and that's what Rick Thielander was saying is in his book is let's just turn this pro for the teams that are paying the big money. It's like, I feel bad for the people who weep that, oh my God, this isn't truly amateurs playing for love of the school. The only reason they were playing for love of the school, the ones that weren't getting booster money, was because they did love playing football, but they were still making a lot of money off of them and nothing beyond the scholarship. So if you ask them, do you think it's bullshit that they want to pay you now and you should just be paying for free? They'd probably be like, is this, tap tap tap, is this thing on? Yeah, I did. I afraid TW. Hey, no longer a Husker, dead to me. Just kidding. I wish Tony well. Let's see. I didn't call her honey. I called her Coco, and I think I said shithead once. I've never called her honey. I call her sweetie because she is a sweet girl. I might have called her sweetie, but honey, that's a little girlfriendish there. Although she's better attitude than a lot of them. Just kidding. You were all wonderful. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, yes, he did, man. It's what he does. What do you way to make it dirty, Fred? Fred makes it all dirty. Let's see. Actually, well, if they're getting NIL and or profit sharing, they do have a dime in their pocket. Well, I'm talking about before all that. So the option is to leave twice per year. No one, the guys that were leaving twice per year is pretty rare. And I would think if somebody went in the portal in the spring and then went back in, in the fall, then either, I don't know, either they were told to get lost or something happened to them there, and if they just left because they didn't get the starting job they thought they were getting, even those guys at least stick around for a year. I don't think, I think the option to leave twice a year, or the thing about people leaving twice a year is one of those things that's, dogs and cats living together. Yeah, it's very rare. I don't think it's a problem. If something's just out of, however many thousand kids that jump in, if that, it's just not happening enough, I think, to worry about, make you lose sleep at night. Do 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 do. Oh, here we go. Jimmy Johnson's book talked about NIL era coaches having to be better teachers, or the play game suffers. We see that now. There's zero cohesiveness, especially if guys bounce around. Well, coaches, like I said, coaches bounce around just as much. I mean, so I don't, again, it's make it so neither can bounce. The coaches' contracts mean nothing because they put affordable buyouts in there. I know the buyouts are supposed to be something that stuns them, but I can't ever remember saying, "Hey, we were going to hire this guy, but we can't afford his buyout," and they're not, and the coach isn't going to take the job if they make the buyout super high so that nobody else can hire him, and if they want him, they're going to drop it. So that the coaches can bounce around. I'm sure the players will be able to bounce around or something like that if the coach agrees to release them from their contract, or maybe the players will have buyouts. It's still going to end up a way better system than the bullshit it was before. But I think it's the best way to put this is before the NCAA just started setting absolute records for taking L's in court for just trying to take basic rights away from people that weren't getting paid a salary. Let's see. Let's skip on down. I'm going to skip on down a bit here. There's probably some good stuff there, but I want to talk about a couple other things. Wow, I just threw an NIL transfer thoughts, as just, hey, a whim to talk about for a few minutes, just because, just because the big freak out going on with all the how full the portal is going to be this year. Like more this year and more than probably we ever see again in a portal. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of the stuff I was reading from you guys. Good stuff, guys. Let's see. Next thing I want to talk about, that I really want to talk about. First, let's tell you what, real quick. We had a couple more hit the portal. Nothing that really freaked me out yet. The defensive lineman, he had gotten some playing time this year. I believe he's a true freshman. So a little disappointed to see him go. And and who knows the reason for that? Maybe we see him with Florida State. Although I need to go brush up on my rules on the portal, because basically tampering is just rampant and no one gives a shit and they're just doing it. But here's the thing, Tony White. I think Tony White obviously tampered with these players. Because any one of them that ends up at Florida State was tampered with by Tony White before they entered the portal. Because I think yesterday was the day the portal opened for putting your name in for this session to be do it for a month or whatever. And the day before, Jamari Butler had his final three. Shocked Florida State was on it, and somebody asked a question which I can't answer. It said, okay, if the portal doesn't open until tomorrow, how can he have a final three and already have talked to these schools now? Because he shouldn't be able to talk to them until he puts his name in the portal. And I thought that was the rule. They can announce it publicly, but you can't start talking to them before they put their name in. And you'll have guys, probably announcing like starting tomorrow, like, hey, we made this life decision in a day. So that's something I'm a little curious about. But anyway, we did get Emmett Johnson back. I got a little, let's say inside info on what was going on there, and I can tell you it wasn't NIL. And I said, and I thought, like, that sounds like the kind of thing that can be remedied if if this problem is worked out and this problem is not there anymore after this season. And something tells me that problem will be gone, because he changed his mind pretty quick. And from all accounts, and he made a really like heartfelt video that somebody put on TikTok just about how much he loves Nebraska. And that part of the thing I was shown was that, yeah, he really loves Nebraska. He really wants to be here, but there's one thing that was making him not want to be here, and he kind of reached his breaking point. And to me, I think there's a lot more of that in the portal too. Is just, look, it's not so much I'm pissy because I'm not starting or I want more NIL money. I think sometimes it's just, I thought this place was going to be a certain way and it's not, and I just want to go. And sometimes, I agree with people. Sometimes absolutely you should stick it out. If it's like 1 year, maybe you should give it another one. Hey, talk to somebody about it. Talk to your coach, talk to your position coach, talk to your coordinator, whichever one of them you trust the most, and have an honest talk about, here's why I'm thinking of leaving, here's why, but I didn't want to just walk out on you, and have that talk. Now, if you've been there a year and you don't feel like you can talk to any of them, that might be a signal in itself that, yeah, maybe it is time to go. Sometimes I think there's more human reasons, but everybody just loves to look down on athletes in general, I think, and look down on college athletes, especially now that they're getting money, is, yeah, you're just a bunch of greedy showboat prima donnas, and some of them are. I mean, yeah, but I don't think most of them are. I think most of them are pretty good dudes, and they might have a really good reason for transferring. And like I said, if you hate the transfers and leaving and all that, then you got to remember everybody transferring in to Nebraska is an asshole too, and shouldn't be trusted, and shouldn't have come here, should have stayed where he was and stuck it out. So that's another thing. It's like, when you make it the two-way door, because aren't our guys just always the greatest in the world? I mean, I remember, it's like, look at Jamal Banks, man. Went to Wake Forest, and his other options were Army, the U.S. Military Academy, and Harvard. And he chose Wake Forest. I'm like, good dude. Glad he wants to come here. Same thing with Nayor. Hey, I get it. He's coming off an injury. There's a long line now ahead of him at Texas. Maybe it's time for a fresh start. Fresh start. It's awesome, right? Fresh start for Isaiah Nayor. I could probably go down the line. We're going to get some transfers in this year. You know what? They're all going to be damn fine young men, especially if they can score some touchdowns. Am I right? But anyway, here's what I want to talk about. Signing day. Holy shit. We needed something good to happen after all these transfers. And I'm going to tell you this. I've got some notes on this. I wrote about it last Friday, and I said signing day was a qualified success. And I said it could probably be called a really very, very qualified success, but we didn't get Michael Terry. We lost out on Michael Terry, I think the third to Texas. And, would have loved to have Michael Terry. He looks amazing. And then I said, and can anyone actually blame a guy for choosing the consensus number 2 Longhorns, who are headed to the SEC championship for a rematch with Georgia? No littering. They didn't litter this time. And regardless of that outcome, they're going to the CFP, which they are. Yeah. And anyway, but guess what we did do? Flip Cortez Mills from Oklahoma to Nebraska. He's from Homestead, Florida, the consensus number 137 player in the nation. If you ever go on On3, they will literally show you when you go into the recruiting details, they will show you what the guy's ranked with every recruiting service, and then give a consensus ranking, like including their own. And the 4 are On3, 24/7, Rivals, and they let ESPN in there for some reason. I just firmly put ESPN at number 4 in that, as opposed to 3 Business, whose damn near sole focus is recruiting. But and then they give you the average player there. So Cortez Mills, number 137, and the thing is, like, I think it was a day or two after, but Jackson Arnold transferred, the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. So I was wondering if maybe that leaked out, and maybe that was what pushed him over the edge. Heard we were making a crazy push for him going down to the end there. But that put us at number 20 in the country, the number 20th ranked recruiting class in the country, and 20 guys. And the thing is, recruiting classes give you points for the volume. It's like your player gets, it's something by his star rating, and then you add that up for each player. So if you've got a 27-man recruiting class, you could have, it could be way less quality than, say, an 18-man recruiting class with like 6 5-star players in it. Just to use an example. Hold on. Here, there's your ball. She was running around between my legs trying to make me play catch. Honey, we're gonna play catch tonight. I swear to God. There, I called her honey. Maybe it was the ball. Maybe I did it when I gave her the ball. Wow, I just caught myself doing it. Okay. But anyway, so that put us in the top 20. Okay, 8 of the 20. We didn't have any 5 stars this time, but 8 of the 20 were ranked 4 stars. I think like consensus 4 stars overall. And then get this, between Cortez Mills, a recent Alabama flip, Dawson Merritt, and I looked at that because I'm like, why is a guy flipping from Alabama? Well, maybe they got another rush end in the class and they don't need him, but he was like a top 120 or something guy. And I looked, and when he flipped, they didn't have a rush end in the class, so we took their only rush end. Let's see. So Dawson Merritt, Malcolm Simpson, Isaiah Mosey, Westside's Christian Jones, who just got, I guess they have a Dick Butkus Award for the best high school linebacker in the country. Christian Jones just won that, and like Dick Butkus' son came to town to give it to him, or I think. TJ Lateef, Cade Peterzak, Millard North, Pierce Mooberry, Jeremiah Jones, Jamarian Parker, Juju Marks, and Bryson Weber all cracked national top 250 lists. 60% of the class was on a top 250 list on at least one recruiting service. That's a solid class. That's 12 guys that people really, really wanted. And here's the thing: 4 to 5 of those were late decisions, like Dawson Merritt's flip, Mills's flip. We had Jeremiah Jones was thinking about going to Missouri. They talked him into staying, and we got 4 to 5 late flips from guys who were watching us limp to that 6-6 record. Like, we went from 5-1 to 5-4 or 5-5, I think. Or maybe it was 6. We got the 6th one to go 6-5. So we went 5-1 to 5-5, and then finished 6-6 after being 5-1. You wouldn't think that's play that's really telling these guys this place is turning it around. Let's go there. And not only in that, but that's recruiting, man. That is some serious recruiting when you're not getting the help on the field to make it look good. And we lost 0 defensive commitments. Like, we lost no commitments. Nobody flipped on or right before signing day. But here it is. Literally, what's been in the news for 2 days is our defensive coordinator's gone. Strong rumor out there that proved true that Terrence Knighton was gone. And I guess he was a heck of a recruiter. And then a bunch of the starters hit the portal, and there was real fear there that maybe you're going to get some defensive guys. And I think one of the first ones that actually answered, because they, of course, they tried to get a hold of everybody. And Christian Jones is like, "No, I'm coming to Nebraska, man." And yeah, they all held firm. There were some disappointments on the field this season, but the quality of that class and the work it must have taken from our coaches to hold that class together. Well, we're losing 4 games in a row, 4 in a row, 5 of the last 6, and lose our defensive coordinator, line coach that everybody loved, and all these players right before, and don't lose a guy. Like, everybody else, like, no, these coaches have me convinced. I was like, holy shit, that's recruiting. It's like, I've really got to give the big thumbs up for that. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about something that made us happy there. Signing day definitely made us happy. I did talk about in the article, I tried to look at some of the portal guys a little closer, and here's what I said. Jamari Butler, I said he's going to Florida State, because he had literally the week before told Matt Rule, "Hey, I'm coming back for 1 more year," and Rule was like, "Great," and he even said, "I thought he was going to the into the NFL draft," and maybe he still changes his mind and does that, or maybe he had spoken to some scouts and they were like, "No, 1 more year we'll move you up." But then Tony White quits, and the next day he's entering the portal. I don't think that takes a lot of Dick Tracy detective work. That seems to be pretty straightforward there. I wouldn't be surprised either. Makai Gabayor, that's how you say his name. He blew up this year. He was showing signs last year, but then this year turned it on, was like in the top 5 in tackles, would have been at the top of the depth chart to start things next year, but might be following Tony White or just going, I don't want to play for anybody but Tony White, so I'll see if he leaves him. Just the fact they're doing it like the next day, all these guys are doing it literally the next day, announcing it like right on top of Tony White, kind of leaves a little smell in the air. That does not make me happy. Stephon Thompson, no shock there. There's your guy going to his third team. He followed Tony White from Syracuse to Nebraska, and then Nebraska to Florida State. But can you really jump on the player for going to his third school in 3 years probably third school in 4 years, because I think he transferred like after White had been here for a year. So third school in 4 years, but it appears he's going to his third school in 4 years because his coach is going to his third school in 4 years. So again, the coaches can do it. Why can't the players do it? And then the sack man, James Williams. That one didn't surprise me because after the Rutgers game, where that was kind of his big game of the year, had 2 sacks and God knows how many quarterback hits. And then he got kind of emotional in his press conference afterwards, because he said at one point he was just in a real dark, bad place. He was, I think his grades were bad. He just felt like he was alone. And it was his kind of teammates. And then he said his coaches that really stuck by him, pulled him out of it. And that was the reason he was finding more success now. And I think that was Tony White. So if he wants to follow Tony White, I mean, that's another one. It's like, if that of course, do I know for sure? That educated guess. But how can you blame a guy for wanting to do that? I'm fine with that. And I would be really furious, if like a head coach is like, well, no, you can't go. Fuck you. I'm going. Let's see. And then you had Prince Will Uman Milan. I think that's close to it anyway. Prince, I think, lost some playing time this year. He didn't seem to be making as big a splash as he did his freshman year. And I wonder if he didn't really see it improving next year, because I think he was losing some playing time to Vincent Shavers. I'm not sure. I think MJ Sherman's done. That's who he was behind, but he was he was not playing as much as last year. So maybe he just got him unhappy. And I don't know if that's necessarily a Tony White thing or just didn't think he deserved to be moved down thing. And we can talk about that if you should stick around and hang out. But that's where I'm just wondering. Then he had Kyle Aline, and he sat behind Ty Robinson on the depth chart, so appeared to be kind of in the starter's seat for a black shirt, but he took off. And I don't know. I don't know if he thought somebody else was getting primed to jump him, or if he was also given maybe an invitation to Tallahassee. And that was all the ones I really were down. We're just really questioning a little bit. And I don't know. Time will tell. If we see Florida State sign 5 guys, maybe Matt Rule should send a grad assistant, with a burning bag of dog shit on Tony White's porch. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Well, final thing. Let me talk about the final thing, and then we'll just go with some comments for a while, because that's like half my fun on the show is the comments. This won't take long. We found out we are in the Pinstripe Bowl. My worst fears realized. No, I would have picked, like I said last week, I think Phoenix or Charlotte would have been my top 2. I like those places. But I'm kind of looking forward to getting up in that box in Yankee Stadium. I never been to Yankee Stadium. I lived in New York when I was really young, probably about an hour away, Hyde Park, I'm guessing. And I remember we'd take trips down to the city every so often. But yeah, I'd like to sit in the Yankee Stadium press box and brag on that a little. You hear that, Aaron? Anyway, so it is Friday, December 28th, 11 a.m., like noon Eastern, 11 a.m. here, and Yankee Stadium, as I said. So I just tried to find a few nifty things about the Pinstripe Bowl to make it a little more interesting. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't Nebraska fans' first pick to go. Sounds like the committee, it's their job. It sounds like they're trying to do their best to make sure everybody has a good experience and all that. So anyway, I was wondering, okay, how did the picking finally work out? Because like we said, until Michigan fucked things up by winning or in conjunction with us losing, it looked pretty straight up. Winner of Iowa goes to the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, loser goes to the Music City Bowl. Well, they said as far as Big Ten, it actually went different for each conference. For the Big Ten, they just straight up had the first pick after the Music City Bowl, and Music City took Michigan. They might have had to with the record being better than ours. And then they pretty much had the pick of whoever they wanted after that, and they said they wanted Nebraska just because he knew the place is bursting at the seams, for a bowl game. So that's how that worked out. Let's see. So BC, it said that with the ACC, they had a pool to choose from, and they're in it with 4 different bowls. What was it? The Sun Bowl? Maybe that's the Sun Bowl. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff in front of it. The Texas Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and the Pinstripe. And so with the ACC, there's a pool of bowls that all get to pick from a pool of teams. And he said basically they just work it all out. So they wanted BC. It's the Huskers' first trip to the Pinstripe Bowl. But they said the Huskers are since the 10 years they got the Pinstripe Bowl going. God, has that been 10? Goes fast when you get old, folks. The Huskers are the 10th Big Ten team they've had in 10 years, and they sounded like pretty proud of that. This was from their press conference earlier today, and let's see, it said it's the 3rd trip for BC. And my feeling when they said, "Hey," and they've done 10 different teams in 10 years, is good, because I still remember the misery of the Cap One Bowl going Georgia versus Nebraska for 2 straight years. I didn't like it for 1 straight year. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. It's like Nebraska's my team. Georgia's kind of the family team. And by the way, step cousin Gunnar Stockton, I told you all about last week or week before. Carson Beck's arm gets hurt at right before halftime. Gunnar comes in, leads them to 19 points leads Georgia to 19 points in an overtime win. Howdy doody, y'all. That we were as proud as I could be, and I've never met him. Obviously met my aunt. Met his dad once when he was much younger, but we were still cheering for Gunnar. Good for him. But anyway, watching Georgia play Nebraska was just a miserable experience. I wasn't sure how I'd feel. I hated it. It's like watching your 2 best friends fight or something. I didn't enjoy it. And then when I found out it was angling that way the next year, I got even madder. But anyway, so apparently that would never happen with the Pinstripe Bowl. But if this is a 6-win, 7-win bowl, let's hope we aren't back to the Pinstripe Bowl anytime soon. Anyway, Bill O'Brien is the Boston College head coach. So you have our defensive coordinator having coached for our opposing coach twice, once in the NFL, once in college. Penn State and the Texans. And anyway, final fun fact: Nebraska is undefeated in New York City, not in New York, because they got upset in Syracuse in like 1984, something like that when I was in school. But they won the 62 Gotham Bowl, y'all. And then they played the, not in Yankee Stadium, but in New York City, they played the Kickoff Classic or whatever. So they won 3 Kickoff Classics, the 83 Penn State game, which probably gave me as much joy as any of the Kickoff Classics, because they'd gotten the bullshit call or two to beat us the year before. And then in 88, we beat the ATM. And in 94, we kicked off the season by, I think, putting like a 38-6 whooping on a pretty good West Virginia team. And there you have it. Your Pinstripe Bowl trivia. So, I'm looking forward to it. I got to be honest. Looking forward to more of that. Okay. Let me see what I missed here, because it looks like a few more thoughts. Okay, hey, I want to hear this. Joe Moglia. For those of you who don't know, Joe Moglia, was he the COO of Ameritrade or something like that? And then he quit. He retired early, and then started. I think he shadowed Bo Pelini for 2 seasons or 3 seasons, and then got the head coaching job at Coastal Carolina, and then took them to the FCS playoffs a couple of times. So yeah, I'd be really curious on his thoughts. He said a sane take on NIL paid by schools. Well, if it's NIL, it's not paid by the school. It's not paid by the schools. That's a salary. NIL is just you being paid for whatever based on your name, image, likeness, whatever. A lot of it's social media. If you're NIL king, I remember Bryce Young at Alabama doing the Heisman House commercials. While at Alabama, he wasn't wearing the Alabama logo, but hey, you've won the Heisman and you're still in school. NIL says they can't keep you out of commercials anymore. So yeah, you're getting national brand work, and good for you. God knows how much that was worth. But NIL's not that was like Lane Kiffin actually did say, I want to put a salary cap on NIL. Lane, it's not the school paying it. This is outside of school. Now, a good collective stays in contact with the coach. Who are you after? Let's see. Let's figure a value and an offer for him. But yeah, it's not the schools or the NCAA's dilemma. They lost. NCAA probably could have, by giving a few fucking inches, we may not be going through any of this now. NCAA went scorched earth, and how much money do those assholes make? But they went scorched earth. Players will not get a dime. I think it was Miles Brand, and he was the athletic director that fired Bobby Knight at Indiana. And I'm not saying Bobby Knight probably hadn't done enough to get fired by then, but Miles Brand kind of came off as an asshole at Indiana, and then he went to the NCAA and let everybody know what an act. He's an asshole. He said that he would die before students got paid a dime. And just the complete hypocrisy of that, what I've already said about the amount of money in the game, but by God, let's not give these guys any of it. And he championed that. So I'm almost grateful for him, because he's the one that took these stupid lawsuits that think they can go in and just take away rights because we don't want them fucking with the football teams and making it difficult on people. So much easier, by God, when I can tell that boy whether or not he can leave, and and he don't get no money here. I find out about that, he gonna run stadium stairs all day. Oh God! All of a sudden, I turned into like Foghorn Leghorn a little. But yeah, there you go. Let's see. Pay freshman 100, soft 200, etc. Paid at end of season. If you transfer, you lose it. Yeah, I guess that's something they could put in there. That would work. I probably would be really going harder for the collective bargaining. I don't necessarily think you should lose it, your pay for the year, because think about what that's saying. Okay, because now it's a salary, now it's a job, and I don't think you're going to find another job in the country that says, oh, by the way, we pay you at the end of the year, and if you decide to take another job, you've made nothing with us for that year. So I don't think that one's going to fly, but that's what they're doing right now, is spitballing. It's just, if this is going to be a business, and it should have been a business a long time ago, and I know that drives some people crazy. Too bad, they deserve to get paid. So you're not going to be able to, I think, hold their pay if they switch schools. But I think what I think you can get in there is something like where here's your revenue sharing based on, do you commit to 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, and it would probably have to be a worthwhile increase for these guys to commit to the multi-years rather than keep their options open. And there'd still have to be a way for them to leave. And I don't know, maybe it's more like I said, instead of you don't get paid at the end of the year, you get the signing bonus for the next year. Or if you've committed to 2 years, you play those, you don't leave, then your next one has a signing bonus for sticking around. And when you're talking the amounts there, it's still dirt cheap. I know somehow when athletes make $200,000 a year, it's one of the greatest sins of the universe, but it's really not that much with the money they're rolling in. It, like, if we go by the 200K type thing, if they just do flat rates, then yeah, I could see, hey, but if you stick around, then blah blah. Now, if they go somewhere else, maybe they get a signing bonus with them. But I don't know. I think you'd have to find a way to incentivize it rather than make it a punishment and take away money. I don't know. Like I said, that's the first I heard of it. This is my first reaction. I might have different ideas in the morning. I don't know. Maybe I'll get some free time and go, here's what Andy would do if he was in charge of this. And then that could just be savaged like hell because I know I'd forget 500 things I didn't think of. TJ Lateef didn't do great at Elite 11, huh? That's too bad. I'm not too worried. Elite 11, it's like anything else. I went back through when Danny Kalin went there and did pretty well. He ended up being, because the Elite 11 is actually 12. Is one of the funny things I found out is they give an MVP. They bring like the 20 guys in. I think it's 20 guys they bring in. Those are your Elite 11 qualified for the Elite 11 school or whatever they call it. And then they pick an MVP, and then the next 11 are the Elite 11. So there's an MVP and Elite 11. So there's Elite 12. But so didn't do great. But I've noticed going down that list that some of these guys, obviously do. You end up seeing them in the NFL, and 5 years later, some of these guys, who are still top ranked recruits, and I'd never heard of them. So it's nice to make it. I don't know that being in the Elite 11 is like being in the top 50 in recruiting is not a guarantee. It weights your chances better. Your odds of doing well down the road are going to be better if you're ranked as that type of a player, but it's not a guarantee. I could have said that in way fewer words. Let's see. So Fred's going, forcing a kid to go to a school versus them just going wherever they want. Yeah, coaches can do this, but the continual shifting is garbage, not enjoyable, zero loyalty, and not fun to follow. No, I don't disagree with any of that. I think it's something that had to happen. If the NCAA would have relented a little bit hey, let's get rid of the 1-year transfers. Let's set some limits on it, which guess what? To me, without paying them a dime, still would have been bullshit. But they probably had a chance to at least stave this off for a long time. They chose to go for fuck you, you're still under our control. And courts were like, fuck you, you're not allowed to do that. And there's no legal reason you should have ever been doing that. Because oh god, maybe they thought they could do it because the NFL's had that that monopoly concession from the Supreme Court. But guys, college football, and I don't think any other, they're never getting it. They just can't really get rid of it. The NFL's break on whatever that is. But no one else is ever getting it again, I wouldn't think. And college football sure as hell not getting it. And then it's weird because they're just flat out taking away basic rights that every other person has for the sole reason that you make running a college football program more difficult. Well, tough shit. Like I said, could have had this under control without it blowing up the way it did. So there you go, NCAA. This is what you got. And I get that people are pissed. And now what they're doing is that I think they're working because part of the thing out of that, like I said, the revenue sharing, it's contracts. Let's call it what it is. But that's probably going to have a little more control on the transfer portal. I would think that at this point, if you're being paid, then now these contracts can limit that travel. And I'm not against that. That's, hey, now you're in a job. It's a whole different scenario than we don't pay you dick, but we're going to try and take away things and control your lives. I'm still so mad at Matt. Hey, Mike, for not putting in Harburg fourth quarter, losing to Iowa, run the ball in. Okay, I'm over it. They were running the ball fine with Dylan Raiola, and then they got down there this is where I think where we missed the short field goal to take the lead, and they got down there and decided to run wide and then try another one, a sadder swing pass. When they were just basically going up Miami's gut, they'd worn them down, and they were going up their gut. It seemed like for 8-9 yards of carry for much of that drive. So I feel like Raiola handed it off just as well. And if you got Harburg, then there's a lot less fear that he might try a pass, and then maybe they literally bring everybody up. But I don't know how they could have brought it up. But no, I wouldn't have been for that. It's just a different level of play when Raiola's in. Let's see. Fred Sack, curse at Trev. He probably didn't like the buddies because they were wrestlers, because Trev is a bitch. All right, this has been brought to you by former athletes of UNO who still pissed. I tell you, wrestling's the one I'd be pissed about. That's the one I'd be most pissed about. That's my loving son. From what they say about Minneapolis, I should have been immediately killed the moment I moved up here. Yeah, that is a place where, and I think it got worse after George Floyd. That all of a sudden that's just the streets run wild. And I spent years going up to Minneapolis traveling for hockey, and great city. I'm sure there's parts of it that aren't, but I think, I took the kids and, Drew and Miley and her boyfriend up there a couple years ago, and Jack, we're just walking around at night trying to find a place to eat, and nothing. It was fine. Fred, overall, the nature of the portal eliminates relevance of signing day. Guys can leave half a dozen times. They're not all leaving half a dozen times. That's rare. Let's see. And the way the playoff works, it diminishes a lot of the regular season and conference title games. Well, see, I was the guy that used to love the BCS. To me, was the pinnacle. Two teams. I want the top two nationally ranked teams. It turns the season into a playoff. It makes those out of conference games in September elimination games, and now you lose those games, and it's like, here's Alabama. I mean, we've devolved to now. Congratulations, you got 12 teams. I get it. It makes more money. It makes money for the schools. And this is the funny part. It makes money for the schools that finish 5th through 8th because they get to host. They get to host a game, and so they're the ones that really get an extra game and cash in. But anyway, that was my thing. It's like it's going to make the regular season. I mean, still fun, still in the games, but it's not life or death anymore. Now, as the best two rankings, well, yeah, at least when we fought then, it was for number 2, went to 4. We're fighting for the 4th team, who's usually had a chance, and 4th teams won it. And now we're the NFL, where we're supposed to give a flying fuck about the 8 through 12 teams. The 8 through 12 teams are not winning a title. I don't think that means you got to win a road game, then go play. And Matt, maybe one advantage is you work out those bowl game cobwebs with the layoff, so maybe you get the advantage of getting that a first round game in. But then you've also got first round bumps and bruises while fresh, healthy teams coming in. And the NFL, I don't give a shit about the wild card race. I just don't. And the only thing I really cared about this year was just Alabama being out, so Alabama fans could lose their damn minds. And they did not. I don't know if you've gone on to watch some of what they're saying. They have not disappointed. I mean, even up to their athletic director, who sent that whole, and tough schedules don't matter. We're just gonna. It's like you didn't play fucking anybody now. You just had a tough conference schedule. You can't make that easier. And I saw the teams you played. It was like, I think 1 AA teams. It's like, what are you going to do? Drop down and play Division III teams because you think that'll help? It was just some of the best tiers on paper I'd seen in a long time. And I literally thought Alabama was just going to melt and go into the earth's crust right down to the core when SMU got in. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the playoff. I don't know. And Georgia's in it. They got a first round game. It sounds like they got it with Gunner. Alabama fans were going so crazy because now they wanted Georgia out, because not only because they'd beaten them, but they wanted them out completely because their starting quarterback's hurt. And they're like, yeah, but the committee had to go in and figure that out before they knew he was hurt. And I don't think they can go kicking him out because they just saw him go out in the first half and not come back in the second. Not saying they wouldn't have had they known it. But yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure you can't go in and kick him out now after they've already picked the teams, after they've named the field. They can't go in. Some of these Alabama fans were convinced they could. And then I asked the obvious thing. It's like, you did see they only scored 3 points in the first half with Beck and 19 in the second half in overtime with Gunner. So I would think that would offset their fear that quarterback play is going to fall off the table. But anyway, it was funny. Let's see. Yeah, so nothing matters for the most part. Makes it easier. Okay. Fred, you know where I stand. I know where you stand, brother. Let's see. How many punters, kickers, and long snappers can a team afford on the 105? I'm thinking you got 2 punters, 2 kickers, 1 long snapper. And then somebody else practices as an emergency long snapper. I think they'll still stay 2 deep there. They'll try to go 4 or 5 deep at quarterback, because I think the average, if you just go 105 divided by 22 is 4.7. So it's close to 5 deep, 4 deep at most positions. How many players are on a practice squad? Is it like 15 for the NFL? I mean, because they've got like the 45-man roster and then the practice squad. and survive with 60. College will be all right with 105, because that's the thing too, is you don't get to replace the injured players. That's your ride and die with 105. But yeah, and that Georgia's punter got hurt too, had like season-ending surgery on the non-kicking leg, so that could be interesting because he's one of the best in the country. I'll shut up about Georgia. This is the Nebraska show. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Minnie is not happy at all with Ed Foley's name still being there. That's an interesting one. I really don't know what they're looking for there. I get it, because they did block field goals this year. They block a couple of punts. The blocking game was fine, but kick returns, garbage. Punt returns, Santino Panico, basically. Punts, Buschini came back in punts, and although he kind of had a 2023 Buschini game against Iowa, and he was like 12th out of 14 punters in the conference. He should have been back near the top, and he was. Third team? No, he was honorable mention coaches and media as punter. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, Butler's a grad student, and maybe, because that's always been for grad student. You can just go whenever and however you want. Good call, good catch. I like that. Thank you, Vince Watson. That's right, because that's what Adrian did too. There we go. Teddy Allen. Thank you, Husker Bob. Teddy Allen in Boys Town, here, West Virginia, Wichita State, Western Nebraska Country Club, UNL, and New Mexico State. I thought he tried to go someplace else after New Mexico State. That would have been amazing. That would have been what he got. He's already up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what I thought. A friend said he was trying for his 7th. Maybe it didn't happen. Oh yeah, you guys don't mind, do you? We can roll this thing till 11 or 12. Thanks for showing up, Aaron. Love you, buddy. Listen to Emmett Johnson. It wasn't an NIL, and he loves Holgerson being here. It was something else, and so I'm assuming something else won't be here next season. That's still here now, and let's just leave it at that. Let's see. Just reading some of these. Oh, good. There's a Fred Sacco R8. Oh, tell you what. And I found out our good buddy at Corn Nation, Aaron Rostowski, loves this show too. I started watching Banshee on Max. And believe me when I tell you, Banshee is on the Cinemax side of Max. And I didn't know how much. It was actually, it's a 4-season show. I just finished the first season, and it's just absolutely batshit. And when it starts, here's the Cinemax films or Cinemax logo, Cinemax series, and it's a sound of a motorcycle revving past so that's starting out. And it's about this thief who goes to a small town. He got caught, spent 15 years in prison, and got caught to save his girlfriend, who was also his thief, co-thief. And so he goes to jail for the woman he loves, gets out of prison, goes back to this small town where she went and hid and created a new identity. And he found her in like a week. And then right in one of the first scenes, he's in this bar, him and the bartender he's just met, who's a former world heavyweight boxer, older dude, are sharing shots. And here comes this tough guy in. And I'm Lucas Hood. I'm the new sheriff, and I just got into town. And here come two dudes. They've got an evil Amish guy, like former shunned by the family Amish guy who now runs an amazing criminal empire in a small town, which somehow can happen in these shows. And two guys come to collect for him from the bartender, or the owner of the bar and bartender. And the sheriff gets in a shootout. Gets a really big hole shot in his hand with a pistol, where they're showing him holding the hand up with like a big freaking hole in it. And he gets killed in the shootout. But then with the help of this new guy, because apparently he's one of those thieves, and him and his girlfriend that have combat training and marksmanship and fight. I mean, there's a brawl every 10, 15 minutes of some sort. This guy deals beatings and takes beatings like no one's business. But they decide to go bury all these guys in a hole, the sheriff and the 2 collection guys, and then he decides to just steal the sheriff's identity and become the sheriff of this whacked out crazy town. I mean, it's just, there is Cinemax level sex at least 2 or 3 times an episode, it seems like. Brawls. There was an explosion about 10 minutes, 15 minutes in just the first episode. That they're having like their big, there's an Indian reservation with a casino because, you know, nothing's dirtier in a TV show than an Indian casino. And so you got the Indian casino, you got the Amish living nearby. I think the sheriff is having sex with this like 20-year-old girl that he meets at a wake for one of the guys, the criminals he shot, and turns out she's Amish, and because he meets her in her Amish gear with her father, who looks like he's about 75 and, you know, probably had her in his mid 50s. I mean, it's just, I just picture Bill Murray in God, what was it? Where he dressed in drag to get the act, Tootsie. And I just remember when everything's blowing up on the soap opera, the end of Tootsie, and he's just going like, that is one crazy hospital. And I'm just like, this is one crazy small town. Last dollop I'll give you. They're having this big town festival with the Amish and the natives and the small town idiots. And here comes a biker gang to hang out. They try to get some rape in on his, you know, ex-girlfriend who's now married with a family. And, you know, she kicks the shit out of a few of them, but then the one guy's left with her, but then she gets away and they kill him. So the bikers try to take revenge. The head biker is freaking the dude from Superbad, McLovin, with a beard, and he's actually pretty good. Watch Banshee. If you just like absolute crazy action, sex, smart-assing, violence, this is the show for you. And I think I just told you, you know, what I like on occasion myself. All right, what else we got? Let's see. All this because Fred was making unclean jokes in the comments again. Let's see. We got Greg chatting with everybody. Says Aaron's his biggest subscriber on Only Greg. Oh God, I just got the shivers thinking of the possibilities there. James Williams, the Sack Man. BS, I'm the Sack Man. So many friends call me that, and I'm talking like 10 people. I'm not. Well, I guess it's your name. I was going to say otherwise. I'm not going to ask. Oh God, Aaron Kane. I actually Gregold Only Greg, and I felt like Colonel Kurtz at the end of Apocalypse Now. Yeah, the horror. Yeah, Saturday the 28th. Isn't that what I said? Thought I said Saturday. Yeah, Saturday 28th noon, 11 o'clock here. Yeah, nope. Saturday the 28th. Did I say what day did I say? Did I have the wrong day written down? I did. I had Friday written down, didn't I? Yeah, Saturday. Sorry. Go with the 28th. You'll be fine. Oh God, now it's letting fly, and you need one of Greg's floral calendars. Yes, that is true. This is. I did see that too. I actually learned that, I think, reading the Pinstripe trivia stuff. This is the first meeting of those two schools. Let's see. I don't need flowers in general. What the hell, floral calendars? Yeah, I'm not. I pretty much the calendars moved to my phone. I think the only calendar I really have left hanging in my house is one year. I think it was 1 year. It was with my U12 team, and they had one. They actually had a calendar made with a bunch of different pictures they'd taken of players, of me, of just throughout the hockey season. And it's like a 16-month calendar, and I just keep flipping that because it's a really nice memory. But no, I'm not really penciling in anything there. Let's see. Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously, NIL. That's why I'm wondering if the revenue sharing is just going to be one of those deals where it is just some sort of straight payment. But yeah, then if they do that though, I mean, but let's say they try to put in, because the NCAA can't go in and regulate the portal because the NCAA is not paying them; it's the schools. But it would almost have to be the schools colluding to agree to that. Because if somebody goes, "Hey, we're going to put portal limits in there," and then other schools don't do it, then well, I'm not going to this school because then they're going to tie me down or whatever. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I want to see how that works out. Like, because this is the first time I'm really thinking of how that'll affect it tonight. Yeah, that said, yeah, but if you say you're going to get money, then you leave, you don't get money. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't say I'm not paying you for all your work, the work you've done, because you've left. That's why I was thinking. There's got to be like a renewal bonus or a re-signing bonus or something like that. Yeah, even Fred said this is the real world. Oh, let's Dylan Raiola. Everybody except Dylan was saying Dylan's going in the portal. One of the national recruiting guys. I understand there's real smoke about Dylan transferring, and there's not. There never was. I mean, he's scheduled a summer youth camp that he's going to put on at Pius. About 2 or 3 months ago. And then he goes down to the Chiefs game and he's there, and I think he was there with Dawson Merritt, but like Ja'Cory Barney, Shavers, and McGahee were there, and seeing Shavers and McGahee there made me happy too, because I think if you're transferring, you're not going hanging out with your. I mean, I know you still can, but if that's on your mind right now, I think you're trying to separate a little and not go hanging out with your boys. And also, being that those two were from Florida, you wondered if maybe Florida State would be a nice pull. So that made me happy. But no, Raiola finally was just like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm coming out and saying it. And I'm glad. Some guys would have said, it doesn't even need to be said, but it does shut a lot of people up. So I thought that was a good play by him. Yeah. And this is so true, Fred. End of the day, it's the expanded playoff is just more TV revenue money, more TV revenue money, more ticket money, more shirt money, apparel money, that whatever you call it. That we get that many more games that went 3 hours, now going 3:45, and that many more commercials. Well, here's the thing: these games could be shorter on TV, and that's what we thought they were doing, because one of the new rules they put in was they did all the rules to shorten the gameplay time. Well, guess what? The TV time didn't shorten at all, and they're sitting there just running ads. So you're still getting like the 3:45 or however long these games are, and they're running over a little. Yeah, run less ads. But yeah, all they did was bump. They just turned into like AMC or whatever, because they actually had. That's one thing I found this year. Before, you had like the guy in the white coat or whatever that stood out on the field, the TV timeout ref, and just stood out there like on the 20-yard line, like about 10 yards on the field, and then walked off, and then you could start playing. Now they actually they plant a clock there, and I mean, that thing is like 3.5, 4 minutes long. And I remember we always made fun of AMC watching The Walking Dead and stuff like this, and actually saw an article that they do have the longest commercial breaks, and now college football saw that, I guess, and like, hey, we can do that. Let's shorten the games, but add more commercials, because everybody will love that. Let's see. I like this. Many know the pros also don't live in the real world, but they at least have legit contracts. We get Jeff Sims, Taco John's money, and sucked here, or DeColdis Crawford, who barely played. I tell you what, though, I did enjoy the DeColdis Crawford's commercial. He went and filmed his commercial and got his money, and then got, I think, the tweet of that commercial got something like 3.5 million hits or something like that. So, hey, he made that. You can't say he didn't make that place some money. Probably that was some solid exposure. Okay. So NMSU was the final year. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Fred Foley needs to go. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know what upside he's saying. This is 2 years of this, and I mean, it started as a joke with Frost when was it the year we couldn't make a field goal and we're bringing out Lance McCullers and club soccer players and whatever. The coldest only got 19,000, and think of the players who actually did contribute that got NIL, got nil, not NIL, but zero. I was about to spell it out. Yeah, good point. Let's see. Yeah, anyhow, exactly. Therein lies the work in a real world. People like us, I ain't getting 19K for doing nothing at any job ever. Well, and I think this one burns on a little bit only because he got hurt. He's not doing nothing. He's still out there, like, got spring ball. He's doing nothing but football and squeezing in some classes. They like doing the ridiculous practice, study, everything. So he's not doing nothing. And I'm telling you what, for 19K for the hours he put in, if you actually divided that, that's probably like below minimum wage. And I guess it works out okay if you toss his Scully in, but then that's not cash either. I don't know. That's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's not real world because they're not doing real world things. They're doing an event that people pay a shit ton of money to go watch in the stadium and watch on TV and buy their stuff. And look at me, it's like, well, this isn't them. This is us, baby. But got my Nebraska hat, my Nebraska shirts. Yeah, they're not. There's nobody. Like I said, it's like I was a mortgage underwriter, and nobody was like 80,000 people weren't filling the stands and millions watching on TV to watch me underwrite mortgages. It's not comparable. It would not have been comparable for me to say, shit, I worked harder than these guys and more hours and they get this and that. It's like, yeah, but they're also generating a shit ton. It's just the way it is. And, people can be jealous all they want. And that I get. If you're just mad they're making more because they are better at something than, you might be better at in your whole life, then yeah, there might be some jealousy there. I just choose to enjoy it. Sure, you have to be born with a certain amount of athletic ability. Even the walk-ons were probably some of the best players in their high schools, but I'd rather just enjoy watching them play, admitting I'm part of the problem that they have people that want to give them $750,000 a year in NIL, and part of the reason is I want to watch it, so I don't have a problem. As far as I'm concerned, they're earning that money, and it's not necessarily, with the toil of the working man, although they work pretty hard, but they're doing something. Because like I can see a doctor, $250,000, and some college freshman makes, like Arch Manning makes $3 million or whatever. Well, people show up to watch Arch Manning sit on the bench and go crazy to come in, for a couple games this year when Ewers got hurt. Nobody goes to watch that doctor perform surgery. I get that doctors and teachers and firemen and all that do an incredible service, and there's just no way on earth, because you're not going to want to pay the kind of taxes it would cost you to probably pay them what they deserve, which is more than pro athletes. It's just pro athletes are generating that cash. And, and these are pro athletes. Even when they weren't getting paid, they were pro athletes because they were paying them a sport that wasn't really a free sport, that they weren't just charging enough to cover expenses for the stadium and that sort of thing. No, they were trying to make money hand over fist, and they did. And I'm just happy the players are getting some of it. I think I'm doing a lot more. Fred, I love you, but I think I'm explaining it a lot more rationally than just fuck these guys, don't give them money and don't let them transfer because I don't like it. Banshee sounds like someone Frost would have dated. I tell you, that town is aptly named. Watch Banshee or join chat on Thursday. Hey, watch Banshee anytime you want. Hey, kids, having some issues with a contact, trying to power through for your benefit. Do you have a good guest coming in on Thursday? I don't know what that means. Let's see. Fred's looking. We can't see your Sally Jesse Raphael glasses. Shots fired. Yeah, I heard that's where I heard like Miami. It's like, what the fuck? Come on. He's not going to Miami. That was a good one though. Here we go. And he said, I just gave Miami back to Cuba. Fred, I'm glad I deleted my comment. Oh no. Now I want to see that comment. Let's see. Solid exposure is what Avery Moss did against Orlando. Yes, Andy, but what did he do for the school? He wants a share of what the school wants. Okay, here's what he did for the school. I said the number earlier. Part of the program that generated $204,831,356. That, I think that's doing something for the school. Did he get on the field? No, but did he work his ass off and was part of that program? No. Here's the thing. I don't know. And that's another thing is revenue sharing. Is somebody say that is a freshman who doesn't get in? Are they just going to pay everybody a flat salary? Are they going to try and weight the salary, the revenue sharing, the salary, or whatever you want to call it? Are they going to try and weight that out before the season and then have performance bonuses built in? Because let's say if that was a performance bonus, then he's not getting any of that, but he might still have an NIL deal. Now, will they feel the need for as many NIL deals if the revenue sharing happens? There's a lot. I'm speculating like crazy right now. I just want to see what happens this summer, what they come out with. I'm still not going to be surprised if the revenue sharing and they kind of have to put it on hold because they can't agree by July 1 or whatever. Because they've been going at it a while, and then they threw in the request for collective bargaining. We'll have to see. It's one of those things where I can speculate all I want, but until we all know the details, we don't know. I'm not jealous of DeColdis, but no, I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to people in general. I never got the jealousy vibe off you. It seems like your beef was more the transfer portal, and and we're not going to agree on that because my thing is, well, pay them, and then maybe we can dictate terms, and then again, we'll figure out how that works out. But no, I wasn't firing that gun at you. I'm firing that gun more at the unnamed slobs on social media who are just players shouldn't get money, they shouldn't be able to transfer. The old way was great, and even though they're not getting any cash, they think it's okay to just not let them do any of that because then they just can't have their players trapped there basically for 4 years. That's who I was firing shots at. Let's see. So who's Maureen? Is that your wife? This what just must be this. I'm just picturing a woman with amazing patience and a sense of humor, kind of like mine, because just because I don't read off quite as much of the stuff you put up there, buddy, doesn't mean that we don't kind of find the same inappropriate things appropriate for us. Let's see. Oh God, Greg's contact is PJ Fleck. Greg captured him and stole his axe. If you've captured PJ Fleck, put him in one of them holes they dug for people in Banshee. PJ Fleck out of my life would. I love the state of Minnesota for the most part, and all the trips I took up there, people, just really good people, really nice. I can't really think of a bad experience I had there ever. And the only thing that really makes me kind of get pissed at Minnesota anymore is just PJ Fleck. Oh my God, that asshole! Yeah, put him in the ground. I love this conversation. Maybe the NCAA needs to hire the Holger maniacs to fix college football. I loved. If you haven't done it, I think I posted it in a couple articles, but I think it was Husker Mike on our coordination staff that found this one, if I'm recalling correctly. If not, I apologize. But he found this thing called the Holgo Lab, and it's just one of those things that looked like that whoever does the TCU Hypnotoad videos, only with a bunch of weird stuff with Dana Holgerson's head planted on there. And at one point, I think he's riding a BMX bike down a dune or something. It didn't make any sense, and it was just funny. Let's see. Did the B1, did he destroy the axe? Did he break the axe? I think he should be fired. I realize there's no legal basis for that, but I'm in favor of it. All right, what are we talking about here? Greg said, how about more spastic than John when he had his colonoscopy a couple months ago, Fred? Well, how would you be, as a person who's had one of those myself, how would you be spastic during a colonoscopy? Did he just try to, maybe just purely for entertainment purposes? Did he say, nah, give it to me without the anesthesia? Oh, maybe creeped out the doctors a little. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, shit. Oh, we're still going. Greg probably, or more spastic than him, when he heard my name at the meet up in Lincoln. The confusion was great. Aaron Kane says, Holgerman still reminds me of Larry David. I can't not see that. I could see a visor on Larry David. That could absolutely be Holgerson's hair-colored style when he reaches Larry age. Of course, Larry age, because I think Larry, I think he was probably 47 going on 72. And therefore now looks like he's ageless, since they're really, other than, just that long blonde hair, coming off of a skeleton in a casket. I don't know that he was going to get to look at any older. Holgerson looks like a scratch golfer who's a used car salesman. Have you ever seen those guys? I see them on TikTok, and they're called like 19th hole adjacent or 18th hole adjacent. And I think they just get hired out or agree to go. They just go to golf courses, sit on a tee box, and try to heckle guys into stepping them away. Like once they start warming up, they start flipping them shit. And if they can make them step back from the ball, then they're high-fiving, got him. And, not always great, but some of the stuff, hey, this guy, what was it? This guy looks like he dates a doctor and doesn't work, and they make fun of their clothes. Every now and then you see some celebrities. I'll finish with this. We're rolling down here, and 2:08. I knew tonight was going to go a little long because it had been such a busy week. But one time they had John Daly on the tee, and they said, "Hey, John, they said, what's it like having a Taco Bell bill that costs more than your alimony checks?" And John just calmly hits a rocket off the tee with I think it was a par 3. Just calmly rips an iron and drills it, and then turns around and he goes, "All right, let's see. All right, I'm screwed. I'm gonna say it. It was John Daly, folks, not me, but I can't not tell the punchline now." But he goes, because Taco John's smells better than my ex-wife's pussy. and then these guys all hit the ground, and maybe Daly went like, gotcha, because he got them good. The one guy just turns around and goes like, but can't help but laugh. And so there you go. Final thought. I'm sure that'll bring everybody back next week. Got one more Holgerson comment from Fred. Yes, Holgerson looks like he inhabits the 19th hole, but doesn't monopolize Golden Tee. Yeah, no, he'd be there. God, I don't know. He'd be like the crazy, golf pro that is teaching everybody. What was his name? Jim Furyk's swing, that weird windmill, that weird like kind of waggle down as he swung it. He'd be teaching that as like the next great thing, and then his players would be going out winning tournament after tournament. I know what Golden Tee is thanks to the Holger Maniacs. I'm going to have to look up Holger Maniacs. I have not heard that. Anyway, all right, that's it for tonight, folks. Thank you. Thanks for being patient. Good. We know where everybody stands on NIL transfer. Let's just say this is the chaos I think that'll work itself into a better plan than what was previously going on, and better than probably what the the NCAA would have come up with on their own. So yeah, this is going to be the roughest year of all because of the roster cutting. That the portal's going to be madness simply because each coach has to shove, a bunch of guys. Most are going to show. We're going to have to shove over 50, I think. Most are going to have to shove probably 25 to 40 or more, but there's a lot of that. That's what's going to just make it go nuts, and that's when you go to social media. It's the end of the college football world. Everything that's ever been said like that involving players and money and stuff like that to be the end of the sport hasn't been the end of the sport, because if there's so much of that money and whatnot for them, then a lot of people are watching that sport, so it ain't going away. So I promise you, I give my word to every one of you that college football will go on. It'll be fine. There's always going to be stuff we loved more, when it was older. That's us old farts. But I think this is for kids now, and like say middle. When did you really start getting into sports? Like if you're a psychotic little shit like me, it was grade school. But a lot of people, I think, they really start hooking on to what mom and dad are watching, or in middle school. Then they're getting nuts about it in high school. Then you turn into a maniac in college, and then the rest of your life, during your maturation, you become a bigger maniac about the sports than you ever were in college. Look at our present company included. But I promise you, it'll all be fine. College football will go on. Coco, you're going to get played with here. She's finally just given up and decided to fall asleep at my feet. That she heard her name and I woke her up, but that's fine because we're almost done. Love you guys. Hope we see you back next week. We'll probably start getting into the Pinstripe Bowl a little more. I'd be stunned if we didn't have a few more. If some of the because I saw like some of the like walk-on types were starting to pop in there. And, that wasn't them. Oh, I'm going for a better place. This is them going, ain't no room for you here anymore. So we'll probably have some more of those. Maybe if we get a few that we've heard of. And, and the number I threw in too was, as far as adding in, is there's probably a couple of those walk-ons in the 105 to 120 range that are going to find themselves on scholarship this year, because there's always a couple. So we'll see. But anyway, loved it. Let's see. Minnie, I see your message, and yep, been doing it. It should just do it automatically now if I've got it set up right. So, and if it doesn't, I'll run it. Don't worry. But that's it. Good night, everybody. Fred Sacco, I'm gonna send you off with yours later, fuckers. Have a good evening. And let's see. And that's it. We're done. As always, love you guys to death. Go Big Red. See you next Tuesday, same time. Have a great evening. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And like I said, I'll probably be taking some notes or writing something in Tiger Times this weekend or one of these evenings. So feel free to stop in and say hi. Good night, everybody, and go Big Red. Take care.